This week's assignment is called Drawing a Conclusion Based on Data. Drawing a conclusion is the final step in this scientific method. Drawing a conclusion requires you to summarize how your results support or contradict your original hypothesis. We will review all the steps of the scientific method that led you to your conclusion. Step 1 in the scientific method is observation. Typically, a scientist may observe a pattern or notice something and become curious about it. Based on this observation, the scientist may form a question. The question needs to be a testable question. We learned that a testable question is one that can be answered by conducting an experiment. Testable questions are always about changing one thing to see what the effect is on another thing. Once you have established your testable question, you are able to form a hypothesis, which is the next step in the experiment. A hypothesis has to be testable, it has to be clear, it can be measured, and is straight to the point. Once you have formed your hypothesis, you will then conduct an experiment. We conducted an experiment about rockets. We tested the nose cone shape in order to identify which shape allowed our rocket to fly the highest. A possible hypothesis for this experiment would be, if I attach nose cone number 2, then the rocket will fly the highest. In this hypothesis, attaching the nose cone is the independent variable, and the height that the rocket flies to is the dependent variable. Once we conducted our experiment, we moved on to the next step in the process, which is analysis. We created a bar graph that showed our results. We also learned that by placing our data in the form of a graph makes it easier to understand and identify possible patterns in the data. In the process of analyzing our data, we need to be careful that we do not confuse observations with inferences. You learn that an observation is information gathered using your 5 senses. It can include the height, the weight, the length, the color of an object. We also learned that an inference is when you try to explain everything that you observed. This brings us to the conclusion. The conclusion of the experiment is when you summarize if the results support or contradict your original hypothesis. It's okay if your hypothesis is proving wrong. This may cause you to have more questions and lead to more experiments. In today's activity, you will analyze data and then identify conclusions that can be drawn from that data. Most of the data will be presented in the form of bar graphs. Good luck, and don't forget to click Turn In on your assignments.